RBG. I was like, oh, this is going to be a very impactful interview.
How's it going, man? How are you?
It's going well. How are you?
Very well, very well. Nice to meet you.
Pleasure to meet you too. Are you ready to go? Hi everyone, it's David Stark from Watch Our Past, and I'm talking to Ryan Barton Grimley about Listen Carefully, which is coming to digital and on demand December 16th, 2024. I'm going to talk to him right now, and while you're watching, if you can like and subscribe to this channel, that would be fantastic. I'll shout a lot. Thank you. So, thanks so much for joining me today. I've got Ryan Barton Grimley, the writer, director, and star of Listen Carefully, which is coming to digital and on demand on December 16th, 2024. It is an indie thriller that has a really wonderful kind of cinematic style, a mysterious story, and some twists along the way. I am very excited to talk to you. I have been wanting to talk to you since the criminally underrated Hawk and Rev, which I loved and did not get to talk to you about. So now I get to talk to you about this movie. So I'm very excited to talk to you. Thanks so much for joining
Uh,
me.
yeah, thanks for having me, man. That is awesome. That's a deep cut there. I love that.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
it's one of those movies. I was like, I don't know what to expect. I was like, this is a lot of fun. Like, I love that everyone's having so much fun making this.
We had a lot of fun making that movie. Just so much blood. We were like, throw more blood at
That is always
it.
the answer. That is always the answer. Now, this movie, I don't know if you had more fun. It didn't seem like people are having more fun in this movie. This movie seemed a little bit more serious, but I'm excited to talk to you more about this one as well.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, it's definitely a different tone. We did have a lot of fun shooting it because it was, I don't know, smaller scale, I guess, less pieces in a weird way. But we definitely had a lot of fun. We were laughing a lot about it. But yeah, it's a very it's kind of scary and serious. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
So, we'll start at the beginning. You wrote this. How did this kind of story come to you? I assume you were sleep deprived from some sort of newborn and just like looking for something to do. Like, how did this story kind of come to you?
It came from an anxiety nightmare I had in 2018. And it's funny, I actually, my daughters are a little older. I have two of them, but we were at a Mexican food restaurant with my parents and my younger brother who had just had a baby. And so we're drinking some tequila, eating spicy food, and we were all congratulating my younger brother on what a great hands-on dad he was. And then my whole family just pretty quickly turned on me and were like commenting and kind of making fun of me for how I was not that with my daughter. So with my first daughter, I had this like crazy anxiety about like, I don't know, screwing up, like dropping her, not being able to hold her. I've suffered from anxiety a lot during my life. I was born in Zimbabwe. The first 10 years of my life were spent there, and it was pretty dangerous. So I don't know. It's just like a thing I've had to deal with. So I was very anxious with our first child, and I really could not be hands on like my brother was. My whole family was just kind of like making fun of me for this, and so like we went. We were on vacation, so we went back, and everybody was like falling asleep, and I was kind of thinking about that whole night. I was like, God, that's so messed up. I can't believe they're saying that, but it's also kind of true. And like, what the hell was going on with me? And I was still had the spicy food and the tequila as well. So I kind of went to sleep in that weird psychological soup and just had this awful nightmare about a baby getting stolen over and over again out of the crib and pulled out this window, and giant babies chasing me down the street, and
Oh wow.
people trying to extort money from me, and like all of my fears about providing, and my wife still loving me or caring about me. All this stuff was just all in this horrible nightmare, and I woke up and I was like, oh my God, what is going on? And I tried to go back to sleep and couldn't really do it because it kept coming up. So I just got up and grabbed a pad and wrote all this weird crazy images and stuff down. And then about a week later, I just tried to write a script out of it.
That's
And that's about 75 to 80% of what is in that nightmare was in the script. And that's about the same percentage of what's in the movie. So I kind of re-engineered stuff so it felt more like a structured thriller and had payoffs and twists and stuff. But I realize I was really trying to portray what it feels like to have, like an anxiety attack or a panic attack and have like intrusive thoughts that kind of lead up to it that you can't control. And, it can be extremely disturbing, for somebody who's not who doesn't suffer from that kind of stuff. And so that's kind of where the project started. And I took the script pretty quickly and showed it to Ari, who plays the voice and the cop, and was also Rev in Hawk and Rev Vampire Slayers. That's my brother-in-law. So we've been making movies. He's been in 5 movies I've produced. This is our 4th one that I've directed. And he read this thing in one sitting and was like, "Oh man, there is nothing funny about this movie." I was like, "No way, no way." I was like, "It's darkly funny because this guy's so corrupt and he's such a scumbag, but he's getting his just desserts." But maybe he was like, "I don't know, man. I don't. This is really. I don't know if we can pull this off." I was like, "That's exactly why we have to try to make this movie." He's like, "All right, well, you do it." And I was like, "No, you're playing this guy." And then I finally was able to get my wife, who has done a lot of acting in her life, to play my wife in the movie, which was so weird and awesome. And that's kind of how it all came together. And we did a quick 2 week shoot, and then got to work on an edit with a great friend of mine who's a pretty well-known editor. He cut like Victor Crowley and a bunch of huge horror movies, named Matt Latham, and then kind of built the nightmare sequences out even more through some pickup shoots during COVID and stuff. And then yeah, it was the most complicated stylistic edit I've ever had, which was really an awesome challenge. It was really fun to
That
try to
is
balance it out.
No, that is amazing. And there's a lot to unpack there. So let's well, the first thing I
Yeah,
thought is like
sure.
you got your wife to play your wife. You didn't write in some scenes about, like her giving you a massage or talking about how amazing you are. Like, oh, I'm so sore from the
Yeah.
amazing sex we had last night. I can't do it tonight. Like
She would not have done it then. She kept saying to me, she's like, "I feel like we've had some of these conversations." I was like, they're not the same, but they rhyme, in a weird way. They're kind of like parallel, like worse versions of ourselves. Yeah, no, I wanted to make Andy pretty stunted. I wanted to set him pretty far back in his progression, so that we could really play with how bad we could mess with him. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I also love that like after this horrible anxiety attack that you had, you didn't go to therapy, you did the next best thing. You made an indie film, which is, kind of therapy.
I mean, that's the plight of the artist, right? You're like
Suffer for
you're like
your art.
I can't afford therapy, but we're gonna suffer through this and make a project.
Yeah, yeah. And you
I
learn you
know.
learn about yourself through the process, right? So
Yeah. I definitely learned a lot, and the interesting thing was like doing some of the film festival screenings. A lot of the Q&As really turned to like a lot of stuff about psychology, anxiety, intrusive thoughts, and like all like male stereotypes, providing like all this stuff. We got into all of that, and like I don't know, I'm not most movies are could care less about what men go through. Like most American movies are like got man hero or man bad.
yeah.
So,
The two poles, right? Yeah, that's
yeah. So it was kind of interesting to kind of do that, especially like international Q&As where like in Brazil or Mexico, they don't have the same like kind of stereotypes that we do. So it was really interesting talking about all that stuff with people, having them connect about that stuff. I did learn a lot, and I guess it was just sort of quite a lot of the stuff, when you're going through the creative process is subconscious. And
Mhm.
then it kind of gets out there and you're making the best thing you can. And you're like, holy crap. Yeah, that is a thing I actually go through. Whoa. why did I put that in there?
Yeah. Like, do I want that to be? Well, I've got to now because it's on the script.
Yep.
Thank you. Yep.
Yeah.
So, speaking of, indie filmmaking and budget, how many ATMs did you steal from to fund this film? Just, rough ballpark.
Ballpark, we probably went and stole locations in front of maybe like 25 ATMs. You know what I mean? So yeah, so it was a small documentary size crew. So we actually could go right up to a bank ATM and do that. And we did that all around my neighborhood in LA, which is just like a normal, boring suburban neighborhood, but there just happens to be a bunch of banks around. And so we kept doing that over and over and over again. And I know we were on all the video. And there were definitely like random, like private security people that started hanging around in the neighborhood. And we kind of saw them and didn't shoot in a couple places because of it, because we were not getting permits. We were totally guerrilla on the thing, you know. But in
Nothing will
terms of
stop
budget,
your art.
no. Well, I mean, there was no way we could afford it. I mean, it's a very low budget movie, man. I mean, you know, we use this is our actual family house we live in. You know what I
Oh,
mean?
wow.
You know what I mean? But all my movies have kind of been like that. You know,
Yeah.
I have some name actors in my first movie, much to my chagrin, but those were still locations that my in-laws had or my family had, you know what I mean? So we just kind of shoot with what we have and try to tailor that to the movie. Like the car, a lot of those car scenes are shot in my driveway, you know, in the DP's car. He was like, "Your car sucks, Ryan. It's a minivan." Like, actually, it would have been really funny, but I couldn't convince anyone to use the minivan. You know what I mean?
I mean, yeah,
Like,
that would have been really on brand. Just a minivan,
yeah,
that's very appropriate for the role that you had.
like dad core. Yeah,
Yeah,
full
exactly.
on.
And you kind of mentioned some of it, but I was curious. This film seemed to be almost entirely filmed at night. Like, were there challenges associated with that? It sounds like it wasn't because the crew was so small and it made you kind of lightweight and mobile and able to avoid any sort of
Yeah.
problems. But
Yes. I mean, so it's tough because so it's really freeing when you have a smaller crew like that, and you're just single camera. And modern cameras, you can get cameras that can see in the dark, basically. Um, but it's then very easy to make a really boring small scale movie. And so you to get the vibe for the thriller, like I really wanted to capture the depth and the width of LA at night and how empty it is, because this city closes down at like 10 p.m. in most
yeah,
neighborhoods, even earlier. And there's a couple places where people hang out after 10, but it's empty, man. There's nobody. And I wanted that kind of width, and so we spent a lot of time figuring out how to kind of engineer it so it felt much fuller. And that's what a lot of the pickup shooting was. A lot of the, just more disturbing imagery we reshot many times. And I'm lucky enough to have a camera and a crew that's kind of flexible. And all these actors are people I'm either related to or know. So, we could just kind of get it together and do it. But I guess in terms of the nighttime, it was far easier than you would think. The one
Mhm.
thing about LA is it's so bright, there's so much light pollution that we were, using ND filters on the front of the camera a lot of the time,
Oh,
you know,
wow.
just to darken it just because it felt so bright, which would really bring out the digital quality of these kind of more prosumer cameras, which we were using because we were afraid, like, well, what if someone stops us and they take the camera away or it gets stolen or it gets broken? I mean, I don't want to give anything away about the movie, but there is a scene where I'm like running around on the streets. And I mean, that was just in the middle of this really kind of scarily derelict South LA neighborhood. And, somebody easily could have taken the camera from us or we could have dropped it. And so we were just kind of rolling with that and just had like backups and stuff. And that's kind of how we do stuff. We're a little more, I don't want to say experimental, but we kind of basically everybody who works on my crew is like an art school person, kind of. We're more of that vibe.
I believe it's like,
Yeah.
is it hip or true to the art? We'll go with that.
Yeah, yeah, because you can definitely make the same movie with like a bigger crew and bigger production, but it's gonna feel like Taken, I think.
Yeah.
And I wanted to make Taken with David Lynch and David Fincher, on LSD. That's kind of what I was trying to do.
That is a good analogy for it. So I know we have
Yeah,
a busy day. I know we have limited time. I'm going to switch to a lightning round, just lightweight questions about the film. I want to see how your personal experiences map to things in the movie. Feel free to skip any of
sure.
them. I won't be offended, but I try to keep them answerable. First
Yeah, yeah.
question. What is the most money you have taken out of an ATM?
$300.
All right. That is a legit amount of money and definitely something you don't want to do in the middle of LA, I assume.
Yes, yes, yes.
The next question, do you have a duffel bag in your car? I don't have to say what's in it, just curious.
Yeah, I do. I definitely have a duffel bag, and I mean, I have a couple duffel bags in my car. I can talk about what's in them. I mean, you always got to have duct tape. Duct tape's very helpful.
Mhm.
Rope is good.
Foreign
I'm just kidding.
currency, you just
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
foreign currency,
yeah,
maybe a passport, a burner phone.
yeah,
Like,
yeah. The
nah,
usual, the LA
yeah, yeah, no,
cocktail.
yeah, yeah. The LA cocktail, the go
Yeah,
bag, the LA go bag. No, I mean usually I got like some smelly athletic sneakers in there.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
That's always useful to have. Um,
yeah.
Kind of related. Perfect. Next question. This movie involved you kind of like getting out of something because you were going to the gym. Are you a morning or night gym person? Because clearly you work out. So are you a morning or night gym person?
I'm a morning person. I go to bed later than everyone, and I wake up before everyone. I'm that guy. I don't know what it is, but yeah,
It's
I
the
love
anxiety fever dreams, probably.
totally, totally, totally. Stay tuned.
Um, this movie involves your character making some late night runs. What was the last late night errand that you had to do?
The Oh my God, I had a pretty crazy late night errand. A single mom, a friend of ours, uh, quite a bit older than us, and her college student kid got in a car wreck in the middle of Central California,
Oh,
in the middle of freaking nowhere. And like he was driving and must have sort of like nodded off, and they ended up on the side, and it was going to be 2.5 hours for a tow truck to come and get them. So I just drove the hour and a half and went and got them. And that was
wow.
kind of weird because it was at like 2 in the morning. And I really wanted to say no, but like I just couldn't do it. I couldn't do it,
That is,
you know.
well, you are a good friend because I might have been
Yeah.
like, oh, my phone was silenced. Oops. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And the last question, this film involves your character accumulating a certain amount of cash. What is the most cash that you have had on you at any time?
Let's see. Oh, time I had $3,230 cash. As a high school a senior, I had worked every summer and after school to try to buy an old Ford Mustang. And when I was a senior in high school, right around Thanksgiving, actually, I finally found this single owner Ford Mustang, 1968. This woman had bought it when she graduated college with her dad, and she wanted that exact amount of money.
Oh wow. Perfect. That's fortuitous.
So,
That's fate.
yeah, 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 yeah. It was awesome. It was really awesome. What a great car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that would have been a good car, but it's really not like a minivan really is probably the greatest car. but
Yeah,
that's a
yeah,
close
yeah.
second.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we went with the Subaru because they seemed kind of like a Subaru family.
It's a solid choice. A solid choice. The
Yeah,
all-wheel drive is
thanks.
nice when you're weaving through LA.
Exactly.
All right, so the film is coming to streaming digital on demand on December 16th, 2024. You're out promoting and getting the word out, but after people see, listen carefully. Do you have any other projects on the horizon? Any other things you're dragging your family into to support your mental health?
I am definitely dragging my family, my two daughters, and my wife, Simone Barton Grimley, who's in the movie. I think we're going to try to make a family ghost movie maybe next year. So that's kind of in the works. And Ari Schneider and I also have a horror comedy thriller that involves some current political stuff that I think will be really fun for people to
Interesting.
mess with. So those are the two things that are on the board for next year because everybody's trying to stay away from all of that stuff. So of course we're just going to go right to
Just lean in. A supernatural horror
it.
movie and the horror of our everyday life movie. I'm excited to see
Yes,
both of
yes,
those.
that's exactly right.
So you can wait for both of those films next year. But before that, check out Listen Carefully, coming to streaming digital and on demand on December 16th, 2024. This is writer, director, star Ryan Barton Grimley. Thank you so much for your time.
So much for having me.
Awesome. Thanks so
Appreciate
much.
it.
A lot of fun. Glad to finally talk to you. That was Ryan Barton Grimley talking about Listen Carefully, which is coming to digital on demand on December 16th, 2024. It is an indie thriller that has a great cinematic style, a mysterious story, and some twists and turns along the way. If you like this interview, please like and subscribe to this channel. It helps me a lot. Make sure all my new content goes straight to you. Thank you.